Once again, I just want to welcome you to our Animal Justice Academy Lunchtime Live. Our theme today is dealing with the challenges of being an animal advocate. So welcome to all you compassionate beings here with us live, and welcome to those of you who are watching the replay. And we've been getting a lot of watches on our replay, which has been really lovely, folks. If you don't know our YouTube channel, if you're not subscribed to it, make sure that you do. I'm Kimberly Carroll, and I am the Director of Animal Justice Academy. But today I'm putting on my Coach for Changemakers hat. A lot of you know this, but I've worked as a coach for 13 years now. And I've worked with a lot of animal advocates, including nonprofit leaders, grassroots activists, and undercover investigators around how to do that inner work that's going to give you more longevity and endurance, and also how you take that inner work and then reflect it in your habits and strategies in your mission. So, folks, we're all really familiar with compassion fatigue, with burnout, with the conflict that we face, both in the world and in our own AR communities. We also deal with the depression, anger, fatigue, just generally. And so that's why I've been trying to do these coaching hours once per quarter. I think our last one was May, so I fell down a little bit, but here we are. And I asked for folks if they had questions to put them in a document ahead of time, if they weren't able to be here or if they wanted to do it anonymously. But we will absolutely be taking questions here today. So this is how it's going to work. If you have a question that you'd like for me to answer, you'd like to explore it, I'm going to ask you to put **Q and your question, and then let us know if you're willing to come on and talk this out with me live. Okay, you don't have to have your video on if you don't want to, but you need to have at least your audio on to be able to do this. So if you have this, if you have a question and you want to come on with me live, just say we'll talk to Kimberly. Okay, and if not, I will know that you just want to have me address it. All right, so I'm going to just get the question thingy up here. Okay, so Kirsten's going to just keep me posted of any questions. Just 1 second. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to start with a question that was put in the document ahead of time, and then we'll go to some of the live questions. So Joan wrote, and I think this is one that a lot of you could probably identify with. It's hard to see these images, and I want to watch the videos and see the images to be able to write the letters and be informed about wondering how do you not let it get to you? I can't get the images, and she's meaning the graphic images that we see in the animal rights movement. I can't get the images out of my mind or feel what the animals are feeling. It is so difficult, and to keep that in check while being able to speak about it without bursting into tears, to share it with others. How do you do that? Thank you so much. That's Joan. So before I answer this question, I feel like we just kind of need to get a little bit more centered here, folks, because I really want, we're bringing a lot of vulnerability to this space today, and you're all here for a little bit of TLC. We've got 65 of you here today already, so that's amazing. So I'm going to just ask you all, and we don't do this every lunchtime live, but for me, humor me. Let's just close our eyes for a minute, okay? And even if you don't have your video on, I can tell if your eyes aren't closed, or you can cast your gaze downward, whichever, just to be able to take yourself away from the stimulation of the screen. And I'd like for you to just take in a nice, big, long breath like you have all the time in the world. And I'd like for you to just roll the shoulders backwards, nice and slow, okay? Big shoulder rolls, just to roll out some of that tension that's collected throughout the week. And also just to invite you to come back into the body. Okay, we get in a lot of trouble when we get stuck in the mind, when that is the only thing we know. And sometimes the best thing to do when you're at a loss is to come back into this body, come back into this physical sensation-based presence. Okay, And then we want you to just roll the shoulders back and down and just letting the chest sort of stay open. And I just want you to just slow down the breathing a little bit. And I want you to just pick up on the sounds in the space that you're in, just at least one sound besides my voice that you can focus on. It doesn't matter if it's a sound that would regularly be awesome or irritating. Just using this as a little bit of a tap on the shoulder to come into right here, right now. Stop multitasking and to just be here. Because here is the most powerful place to start working on shifting things. And just feeling the temperature in the room and the air on your skin. And then I want you to just notice where in your body you might be holding the most stuff, the most junk, okay? And that junk might be fatigue, it might be frustration, it might be sadness, it might be fear, it might be discomfort, it might be impatience. Just notice where in the body are you most feeling, and you don't even need to know what it is, just where does it feel like things are really clenched up? Okay, just notice where in the body things feel clenched up. For me right now, it's in my heart, a little clenching in my heart. But for you, it could be in the upper stomach. It could be in the throat. It could be up in the crown of the head. Just notice. And wherever that is, let's just pay attention to it, okay? Often we just sort of run away from whatever it is that's like clenching. But I actually want you to start to breathe into this place. And just explore it with your breath. Just notice, is it tight? Is it burning? Is it heavy? Is it aching? Is it scattered? Is it sharp, stabbing? Is it numb and heavy? Just noticing, no judgment here. That, paying attention is just one of the most powerful forms of love and healing, paying attention. So that's what you're doing here. And then what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to take one more great big deep breath into this place. And on the exhale, just want you to shake it out a little bit, okay? I want you to shake this place up. And you could shake up the shoulders along with it. You could shake out the head a little bit. You could shake out the expression. You could shake out the lips even, just shaking it all out. Just this sort of sense of letting go. And then letting everything relax. And just enjoying that sense of maybe just a little bit of release. Maybe just a little bit of letting go. And now coming back to eyes open. Nice. So I'd be curious to know if that was just maybe about 3 minutes. Whether there was any part of that resonated, whether it was just the big breath or whether it was tuning into a place in particular, or my favorite is the shakeout. Man, I'm shaking it out all over the place throughout my day. That is the only way that I sort of maintain any sense of sanity is I breathe it in, I feel it, and then I gotta move it out. I can't let it get stuck there. So Tenebrae said helps. Good, I'm so glad. All right, so let's get back to this question about graphic imagery and just how much for Joan it's debilitating. And that's the thing that we do have to really acknowledge, folks, is some people are just very visually triggered, okay? There's different senses that we have that are stronger. Some people have a very strong sense visually, strong sense audio-wise, or feeling sensation, smell sensation. But for some people, the visual aspect is just unbearable, okay? And we do need to recognize that these images and videos we're watching, they are truly traumatic. Okay, and there are so many people who have PTSD because of these images. And you don't just have to be there in person for you to get PTSD. It can be done by watching videos when you're in a very vulnerable state and you don't have a way to process it, okay? And so one of the things to recognize is that sometimes you might just be a person that is just so visually triggered that watching these things or looking at them is too debilitating to be worth it, okay? So if that's the case for you, and I'm obviously going to give you options on how to try that and see if there's a way over it. But if that is the case, after trying some of the things I'm going to talk about, I want you to, if you need to know the information and you need to know what's happening in there, get a friend to, tell you about it just, through words, or get somebody to write out a little description for you, or just read the description. Okay. I mean, for some people, reading something is even more triggering. I know for me, sometimes that's the case, but, see what it is how you can get around it, like to know the information and be able to use the information, but without like basically debilitating you for the next month. So for those of you, though, that want to give it a try, that are having problems with taking in this content, but really want to, these are some pieces of advice to you. First of all, you have to be incredibly deliberate in watching this kind of material. And I know for a fact that many of you aren't. Many of you are just, it's coming across your feeds, different social media feeds, and at any point in the day, it's coming up and you're watching it. And that is the wrong way to do it, okay? Because again, traumatic videos, they need space. And you need space not only to watch them in a safe environment, but you need to be able to process them. You need to be able to use some tools to process them. So what I'm going to recommend is that you create a space, a routine space. And hey, if you're watching a lot of stuff, it could be once a day. If you're only sort of, not watching a lot of stuff, it could be once a week. And before you go into that, the viewing, I want you to make sure, first of all, you're really grounded. So maybe do an exercise like what we just did, some deep breaths, just sort of feeling the environment around you, just like feeling something solid. Make sure that you're not watching it in a total stressed out state. Okay. That is not going to help anybody. Get grounded, make sure you just feel like there's some safe stuff around you. Okay. And then when you watch it, like, be able to just fully take it in. If you're sobbing, anger, whatever, welcome it. But afterwards, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to process this. Okay. You can't just watch it and feel the heart thud or this fire happen and then just go on your, try to go on without like acknowledging it and processing it. That's how you build up this trauma in your body. So, so things that you could do after you watch a disturbing video, you could write about it. Okay, just like stream of consciousness writing, just to write about the feelings that are coming up, and whether it's sadness or anger or all of the above. You could do some movement work. Like I said, sometimes when I see something that is really heavy and, after I've sort of sat with it for a minute, I put on some really loud music and I move my body, I shake it out, or maybe sometimes it's really sad music and I just like allow myself to feel it and just to get it out of my body, okay, to move it through and out of my body. And I know that sounds a little bit woo-woo, but it's really scientific. I mean, your tension, what you see creates feelings, and that creates sensations in your body. And so in order to move sensations out, you kind of have to have a physical response, okay? It really helps. So those are some of the things that I would recommend. And the other thing is, in Animal Justice Academy, I do a whole module on this called pain processing tools. And so if you haven't already watched that in week 6, or if you haven't watched it for a while, I give you a lot of tools around this. But one of the things I do at the end of the module is I do a meditation. I do a meditation in which I have you bring up one of those images that's really stuck with you. Okay. And I think we all have those. An image of an animal in suffering that it's haunting us. Okay. And I take you through a visualization to be able to change the energy around that. Okay. So, this is just, this is just a shortcut to what I do in this. But basically, folks, those animals that you've seen in the video, they're likely no longer here, no longer suffering. There are other animals that are suffering, but it's the energy that you hold around this that is going to affect whether you have energy and expansiveness to do the work you need to do, or whether you are a puddle on the floor and completely debilitated. So sometimes just imagining that animal that is in your mind, just imagining that you could be there, that you could be grabbing that animal and running with them and freeing them, or healing them and comforting them, because that is ultimately what your activism is doing. Not in a direct way, but it is. That is what our activism as animal advocates is doing. It is freeing these animals. It is comforting them. It is healing them, okay? And maybe you weren't able to do that with this specific animal, but at least have this feeling, because that is the feeling that makes you expansive and makes you feel powerful enough and loving enough to be able to make a change and to go forward in your animal advocacy with even more power. Okay, does that make sense, folks? Yeah. And again, if it doesn't, go to the module, listen to the meditation, and it'll help you a little bit more. Okay, so I hope that helps there, Joan. I'm just going to go, I think there's quite a few questions that have come in. Just one second. I'm just going to the question doc. Bear with me, folks. Okay. Okay. So Tenebrae asks, how can I encourage a vegan zoologist to bear witness to graphic imagery? Seeing may be the only way change happens. And if we are not allowed to see where food comes from, if I cannot increase the willingness of a vegan to deepen their inquiry, what hope is there for people who have not even questioned their food? Okay, Tenebrae, do you want to come on with me and talk this through? I'm just looking for Tenebrae. Just put in the chat, Tenebrae, whether you're willing to come on or whether you just like me to answer this question. That's whichever is fine. It's nice to talk to you. I get to see you all the time. You always have such wonderful questions. And is Tenebrae what I should call you, or is that just a screen name?
It's a screen name. It's okay to call me that.
Tenebrae, I will. I love it. Okay, so Tenebrae, this zoologist, is this somebody you have a friendship with? Yeah, okay. And so they're vegan, but are they vegan for not animal reasons?
Animal and climate and health.
Okay. And what is the reason that you want them to witness these images? Is it because you feel like they're not doing enough? What's the purpose of it for you?
To help her to be more effective. And she's my canary in the coal mine. If I can get her to step up, I think I can figure out how to help people who are unwilling to even question their choices in their diet to step their game up and inquire.
Yeah. And so have you tried to get her to watch some stuff in the past and she's resisted, or give me a little bit of background?
I sent her something I thought was pretty innocuous, a short video clip called One Last Ride about horses going to slaughter. And she wrote back and said, I can't watch it. It made me too sad. And there's nothing graphic in there.
Yeah, so she's trying to avoid. So again, I don't know how much you sort of want to push, but I mean, I always find was it Gretchen Wilder that says we must be willing to witness that which they need to go through. I'm totally paraphrasing, but it's like, it hurts for us to watch it. Imagine what it hurts for them to go through it, how it hurts to go through it. And so sometimes coming from your own experience can be a great way to get through. So to be able to say, look, my friend, I know it's really hard to watch this stuff. I've gotten a little, I've gotten a little desensitized, probably because I've watched a lot of stuff, but I do remember what it was like in the beginning. And do you remember what it was like in the beginning?
It wasn't very long ago.
Yeah. So it was hard. Yeah.
It was horrible,
Yeah. It
and it
was
was
horrible.
worth doing. And it has opened a world to me that I
Yeah.
didn't know other people even cared.
Yeah. That is what you need to tell her. Okay. That is what you need to communicate. You need to, next time you send her a video, you can say, look, this one isn't very graphic. I know it's still sad. And I know that, you know, it's not my intention. I don't want to make you sad, but you're in such a position of power. You have such an ability to be able to share and amplify these issues. And to be able to, you know, and to say, and I know, like, I felt the exact same way when I first started watching these things. Okay. I was just crushed. But as crushed as I was, it was empowering, and it made me feel like I could do something. Okay. It made me feel like these beings that are just being, you know, like crushed in our world, I could take, you know, their suffering and I could amplify it and I could make people care. So, you know, basically, you don't need to say you need to do this because of blah blah blah. You need to say the reason that I'm interested in, you know, in you seeing this is this, because you're, you know, you're awesome, and man, like if you took a hold of this, it would be gain, you know, be such gains, right? But you do need to say from your place how it felt and why it was worth it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, Tannebury, thank you so much for being willing to come on and talk about it. Thank you. All right, Kirsten, let's see. I'm going to go to our next question here. All right. Lenike, I'm going to find out how you say it. Lenike said, how to deal with hypocrisy of others with being preachy. And most of all, how do I not feel such anger about that? It seems to eat me alive. Happy to discuss on camera. Good. Okay, let's bring Lenike up. And I'm sure I've just butchered your name completely, darling. Hello, my dear. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Oh, we've gotten to, like I said, we've gotten to chat on social media. Okay, please tell me how to pronounce your name properly.
It's Lenneke.
Lenica. Oh my God, that sounds
Yeah.
so beautiful. And I just like did everything but Lenica. Okay, got it.
And it's funny, I work with a lot of people in the US and they usually call me Lenneke.
Ah, okay.
It's like, yeah, I'm the key to whatever.
Uh-huh. Lenica. Okay, got it. Love it. Okay, so can you tell me a little bit more about the situation and the kind of hypocrisy that we're talking about? Are we talking about people that are like not in the animal rights movement, or are people in it?
No, people that are not within the animal rights movement,
Okay.
but who pretend to care. So, for example, a little bit on my background, I'm a lawyer, and I try one of my main areas of focus is to try to raise more awareness, because I have to remain hopeful that if people are more aware of what's happening, that they will be able to, you know, not be so cruel to animals.
Yeah.
And one of the recent cases I had was against, there's a group of young farmers in the Netherlands, and they had this huge campaign that says farmers love their cows. And then they had 6 statements, and this is how we show that we love our cows. So, for example, they always get to roam around freely, which of course is ridiculous because they don't. They always get fresh food. They always have fresh air. And then their idea of fresh air is that they have a ventilation system within the stables. So I'm not sure that's fresh air, but anyway. And then I have this lawyer up against me. And he is very vocal about how we as lawyers have this place in society and that we need to stand up for what is right. Then he will tell me that I don't understand freedom of expression. So his whole thing, I think what he's trying to do is take away from what I'm trying to say by kind of making it about me. But it's very hypocritical because, for example, we had a huge climate ruling here in the Netherlands from the Supreme Court, which is called Agenda, and it's about climate and that the corporation of Shell and that the government isn't doing enough to fight climate change. for me, climate is super important, but it's all about the animals. I have to be honest about that. But then he has all these speeches about, yeah, and then I was sitting at my office on Christmas and I was dealing with an IP matter about copyright. And then the agenda ruling came. And then I realized that what I am doing is not so important because we need to fight for, you know, the rights of others and for a better world. And then you sit in front of me and then you're fighting for farmers. And I'm not saying that I hate farmers or anything. I need to be a voice for the cows. And I actually told them that during the hearing, like, listen, I'm not here against you. I'm just here for the cows. But it's just,
I
yeah,
love that. I love that line.
yeah.
That's wonderful. I'm not against you. I'm here for the cows. I'm here for the animals. So
And then he actually started laughing at me. So
yeah, that's okay. You know, so all of these things that you're talking about, like the hypocrisy, the laughing, you know, the ridiculing, those are all signs of some really insecure, hurt people, you know, with insecure sort of positions, right? They're having to resort to grasping. They're having to resort to blaming, to accusations. And it's really important to see it for what it is. They're little children who have not grown up and are feeling vulnerable and powerless. And they're doing everything they can to basically make people believe that they're big and strong and powerful. Okay, it's like a little kid that's like, I am so strong. You know, that's literally what I see when I see, you know, politicians who are you know, just pulling out ridiculous excuses or making ridiculous accusations. I see them as little children who have never reach the level of consciousness to truly understand what they're doing. And so what that does for me is it takes some of the frustration and anger out of it. Now, my first thing to you is keep taking them down, okay? Keep standing boldly, strong, you know, you know, come back with every piece of information and reason that you have. So I'm not telling you to back down at all, okay? I just want you to do it in an energy that doesn't eat away at you. Okay. And in an energy that also I want you to do it in an energy that also might make you even more powerful in the situation. Because when you're bothered, when they've gotten to you, there's a certain energy we put out. Okay. It's an energy of powerlessness. It's being out of control. Okay. And you might say the right things, but there's still an energy and they can like be, I gotcha. So even if you're going to just sort of figure out a way to not get into this place of anger and powerlessness, even just for strategy, even just because you want to be in a place of just confident knowing, okay? You just want to be so, and again, confident knowing can still be bold and it can still be loud and it can still be in your face, but it's just got a different energy to it, okay? So one of the tools, like I said, is just to recognize that everyone is doing the best they can from their level of knowledge and capability and their you know, degree of hurt, okay, and insecurity. We've all gotten wired differently in this life. And, you know, it's a pretty tragic life to have to lead where you have to be in denial, where you need to constantly be deflecting. It's a pretty sad place to be. All right. So that really helps me to find a little bit of understanding and compassion for these people. Again, not because I want to back down from the fight, but because I don't want to fight from hate. I want to fight from love. I don't want to fight because I'm against them. I want to fight for something. All right.
I have a tattoo on my arms that says, be kind to all kinds.
Yes.
And I sometimes seem to forget that humankind is also one of the kinds I want to be kind to.
Yeah, absolutely. They are. And really, I need you to think about, like, if you were to come into a cottage and maybe a fox had gotten caught in that cottage, okay? And you started approaching the fox, even if you know, were being reasonable and everything, that fox is gonna, you know, fur is going to get up, they're going to growl, they're going to be down and everything. But you know that fox is scared as shit. You know that fox is scared for its existence. Okay, that's why they're acting like this. And in some ways, that's what these people are doing. Okay, it seems much more, it's harder to identify because it's not so visceral, it's much more complex. But really, these people are just, they're like animals scared in the corner, trapped and doing whatever they can to protect themselves. Okay. And so our work, you know, in the world is really to be able to give folks the information and the tools and the kindness to be able to be open enough to change and not feel so threatened by change. But when we're in a situation with people like this, whose life styles and income, you know, are predicated on this, they're going to fight like hell. They're going to be that wild animal in the corner who are going to pull out and all the stops. All right. And so again, never stop the fight. Never, you know, it's not about backing down. It's about coming. It's almost like, you poor thing, I wish I didn't have to fight you, but I don't. What you're doing is wrong. Okay. You're not wrong. What you're doing is wrong. Don't hate the person, hate the behavior. Okay. So as Martin Luther King Jr. said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Okay. So again, you know, I always remember, I can't remember who talked about this, but there was accounts of being on a battlefield, like being in a war, and this person talked about another soldier coming at them and knowing that they had to kill them to, you know, stay alive. But they didn't do it with hate. They did it with, I wish I didn't have to do this. You know, I understand where you're coming from. You're fighting for what you think, you know, what you need to, you're fighting for what you think you need to do to protect yourself or those and that you care about. But I can't let this happen. And I'm not, of course, not advocating violence or anything, but it's just that idea that even people were able to kill and still keep that love and understanding in their heart. Okay.
Not raised by a grandmother who taught me exactly this. She grew up in World War II. And she always taught me that the German people that were occupying the Netherlands, they didn't want to do it either. They came from a place where they were trying to standing up for the people they thought they had to stand up for. So I think about it often, and I think I'm a little bit ashamed of having a role model that taught me this. Yeah. And I'm kind of losing touch with it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, not at all, honey.
And I think especially with being a lawyer, people seem to think that you are not allowed to have a heart. But that you know, like everyone, I'm sorry.
No apologies. Let it come. This is what this space is for. It's time. It's good to feel your pain and share it and let us help hold it. Okay.
Yeah. Because I think that I'm told often, like, everyone deserves good legal representation. And I said, yes. And I stand up for the animals and you stand up for the humans doing it to the animals. And it sucks that I have to keep, I'm always like being asked to justify my actions, and the lawyer standing up for the other sides are never asked to stand up for theirs.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time, Lenica. You're a trailblazer, and that's what trailblazers have to deal with. It's not comfortable, but just keep on revisiting the why. Keep on, you know, looking at them and saying they know not what they do. Okay, they know not what they do, and we've known there's been tons of farmers who have at some point recognized it and turned everything around. There's lots of stories of that. I remember talking to one of my cousins who's a grain farmer, but had 100 cows that he also kept. And I remember just talking to him and saying, I don't know if I can do it anymore. You know, like I can't send them away to these feedlots that I know are hell on earth. Okay. Had I come at him and said, you're a bad person, and no, I didn't do that. I related to him as a human being, and he just shared that. Okay. There are moments that these people feel that, you know, the lawyer probably feels like, God, what am I doing? like he has to talk himself into this, right? And you just need to know that they either have those moments, and maybe one day those moments will become more expansive and start leading the show, or they won't realize because they've just never had the privilege of having their eyes open to it. Okay, the programming is too strong. We have the privilege of having been able to break through the programming. That's a privilege just because we were around the right people, or we saw the right information, or, we had the right space, whatever it is. Okay. And so, yeah, it sounds like you're using that privilege for just the best purpose ever. And Lenica, don't put yourself into a role of, oh, I'm the lawyer, I'm all facts and figures. No, bring heart to it. I have seen some of the best people I've seen, in law, in animal law, have brought heart to a logic. Okay, so don't be afraid of that. I know it's hard as a lawyer and as a female lawyer. People are looking to you to be like hysterical, right? But you can still bring heart in a very grounded, knowing way. Okay. So don't let that's part of your it's part of your superpower. Okay. Awesome. Okay, Elenica, thank you for coming on and sharing all of that. Thank you for being so vulnerable. Everybody in the chat is just loving you for this. And so go in and get some love from them, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's see what else we have here. All right. Ralph is just asking, and Ralph is asking, how do we keep each other motivated to follow up on actions? For example, I think it's really important we keep contacting MPs in Canada about the ag law, even though there are new actions. Ralph, I totally agree with you, and we're going to be continuing our work around that. So don't worry, we're coming back to that, and I got your email, so I know, and we're on it. But I do think, what is really important is that we all kind of land on a few things that are most important to us, and we be the torch holder for those things. Okay. So Ralph, I love you basically become one of the torch holders for this ag law action, and you did it by emailing, by bringing it up here, and don't be afraid to get in the Facebook group and and put some comments, questions. How's everybody doing on this? We're going to be doing that too, but it really does help when people take different torches and really become the leaders. And so yeah, it's really tough because there are so many issues, there's so many directions we could go. And we as individuals need to decide what are those places where we're going to focus on, and let ourselves, really immerse ourselves in that and become leaders in it. Okay. And then some of the other stuff we have to sort of let other people take the lead on, and maybe we'll be assisting those people, we'll be allies in those things. It's not great to just go, this is my issue, I don't see anything else. No, but you do have to have some main issues that you really focus on, and then you dabble in some other ones. Okay, you play the supporting role in other ones. And so, yeah, so thank you, Ralph, for being one of the torch bearers around this action. And we'll be getting back to really lighting a fire under AJers butts around this in the next couple of weeks. Okay, Jenna is asking, how do I bring up speciesism in a master's program that prides itself on social justice and feminist roots without creating defensiveness in instructors and other students? Happy to discuss online if time. Yes, let's bring up Jenna. Okay, hi, Jenna. Can you unmute? Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Hi, nice to see you. Oh, excellent. Yeah. So you're in a master's program.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell me a little bit about, have you tried already, and has it failed in some way? Give me a little bit of background.
No, so I haven't tried. I have friends in the program who know that I'm vegan, and sort of their attitude is that it's sort of a white elitist stance.
Yeah.
And so, and because this program really prides itself in being sort of, it's a therapy, it's a training to be a therapist. And so they really emphasize standing up for injustice in the therapy room, and they pride themselves in their feminist roots. And it's really hard for me like I'm starting to feel like I have to leave the program because it's really hard for me to learn from my instructors when I see how much like the hypocrisy. And when I see them eating animals in front of me, and my fellow students who sort of preach social justice, eating animals in front of me. So I do have a meeting with the director because I finally just decided I have to discuss this, or I'm going to lose my mind. So yeah, just some tips on how to discuss it in a way that doesn't just because I know all these people really identify and pride themselves in the wonderful work they do in so many areas. But so I just don't want to, I know that this could sort of be challenging to their identity and threatening. So I want to make sure I'm doing it in a way that doesn't do that. However, when you're talking to Lenica, a lot of that was helpful, like in just sort of recognizing that be kind to all kinds and talk about my own experience rather than saying you're wrong. So if there's anything on top of that you would add.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so first of all, I mean, I think it's just really important to use this framework of social injustice, right? Because really, I think they would all know that all oppressions are interlinked. Okay, and so once if one oppression, that is in one sort of part of the population or the world is sort of brought up and taken care of, but all oppression hasn't been stamped out, then it's just going to find another pocket to land in. Okay, and so this idea of all oppressions being like interconnected. Okay, so I think that's an important piece, and just to say that that I understand that human oppressions are very important. We're humans, so of course we identify with that. That we've got to tread lightly as far as that goes, because the difference between us as animal advocates versus someone in a marginalized community is they are fighting for their life, okay, and their well-being, as opposed to we're fighting for someone else's. Okay, so we don't have that initial that very visceral primal fight happening in us. Okay, we're generally and I shouldn't say, of course there are a lot of vegans and animal rights activists from marginalized communities, so that's different. Okay, they're fighting for their life and they're also fighting for the animals. If we are not a part of a marginalized group, I mean, of course, I guess again, women are marginalized as well, but we've come a long way in that area. So if you're, say, a white man, you are not having to deal with the same day-to-day discrimination that say somebody from a marginalized group is. And so just to be able to have that in your head, that we really do have to have a different framework for those that are in marginalized communities and how they deal with things. Okay, because we're built as beings, as organisms, to survive, right? So they need to be able to people need to be able to take care of their survival first, and then they can look to other people's survival. So that's just something to acknowledge, and I'm sure you already know that, Jenna. But also, so in this social justice framework, there's such good information. Okay, so Carol Adams is somebody you need to look up. Okay, The Sexual Politics of Meat. And so that's speaking, she's a feminist. She can speak exactly to what your instructors are going to respect and understand. Then as far as sort of racial justice goes, and feminism put together, you've got people like AFCO, who has a book called Afroism. And so just look these two people up. You don't even need to read their books. You just need to get into some of their social media, get into some of their essays and everything, and be able to take some pieces out from them, because they're in these spaces. They're so immersed in these spaces, so they really know how to speak this language. Okay, and the other thing that I'm going to say is don't quit, Jenna. Okay, we need you in these spaces. We need people who care about animals in these spaces. That's the only way they're going to change. Okay. If we just isolate ourselves in these little vegan, bubbles, it's not gonna shift the world. What's going to shift the world is a whole bunch of us, millions of us in little pockets of the world everywhere, smartly and lovingly, educating, sharing. Okay. That's what's going to change the world. It's tough work. And again, if you got to the place where it's just too traumatic for you, then I understand, but you seem like a strong person and I think you can handle it. You need to look at them differently. Okay. And not as hypocrites, but just people that don't know yet. Okay. They are potential allies. In fact, social justice folks are the best potential allies because there's already proof that they care for something other than themselves. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's already proof that they're aware. There's already proof that they're willing to take action. That is our lowest hanging fruit. Okay. And so they just may be so overwhelmed with their own, their own issue, their own direction, that it may be hard for them to think about taking on one more thing. I mean, as animal rights activists, sometimes we feel like that. Oh my God. Okay. Now we have to care about this. And now we have to care about that. And I have to think about this. And I am trying to help the animals. Right. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. And also one other thing that I didn't say to Lenica and that I'll share with you is one of the other little tools that I use is I was this person or I am this person. Okay. So I was somebody who resisted hearing the truth. I am somebody who didn't want my bubble burst. I was somebody who got angry at my family, like two of my family members when I was a kid, for asking me not to put bacon on their tomato, and bacon sandwich. I actually got mad at them. I'm like, oh, those vegetarians, they ruin everything. I remember that. And I keep that in my heart so viscerally because I need to remember how wronged I felt, and I didn't feel wronged. I just felt guilty. Right. Yeah. And so, so just to, and also I try to think about how am I them right now? What am I avoiding seeing? Like, for example, I still fly. I know that flying is bad. I mean, I have seriously decreased my flying, but I'm still flying. Mm-hmm. And so I know that I'm doing something that isn't good for others. And I have ways of justifying it. I don't know whether they're right or wrong, but I am in that place right now where I'm struggling. Okay. And so I'm sure there's those places for you as well. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense, Jenna?
Yes. Thank you so much. I didn't know we were going to run out of time, so I wasn't going to write anything. And I'm just very grateful that I did and for your response, because it was very, very helpful.
Oh, good, Jenna. Okay. Well, let us know. Tell us, are you in the Facebook group?
No.
Okay, well, you should be in the Facebook group. Okay. Are you on Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay. So if anybody's not in the Facebook group, well, just make sure that you're signed up for Animal Justice Academy at animaljusticeacademy.com. And then in the course, there's a link to the Facebook group, or just look it up on Facebook, Animal Justice Academy Community. Okay. And be part of that, and then give us some updates, or if there's some other things that come up, tag me and we'll work through it a little bit. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, this has been great. This time has never worked with my schedule until now. So it's really nice to be with like-minded people. So,
yes, thank you. And lots of people loving you too here. So thank you. Okay, excellent, Jenna. Thanks. Yes, Kirsten put a link for the AJA private Facebook group. And let me see here. All right, folks, I know it's 1, but we still have some more questions. So here, let me give you a little bit of I'm just going to give you a few resources. And then those of you who want to stay a little bit longer, I'm going to answer a couple more questions. All right. Yeah, Tiffany, join too, please. All right. So one of the resources I want to give you is week 6 of the program, Animal Justice Academy, is a must do. If you haven't done it, you need to do it, folks. Okay. And so get on over there, to pick away at a module every week. Do a module once a week. They're only like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. The other thing that I have is I have a free mini course about preventing burnout and becoming a more impactful, joyful, and resilient change maker. So Kirsten's going to put that in the link. So if you would like to do that, it's just it's a video course. There's 5 videos and they'll be sent to you over, a week and a half. And so into your email box, it's nice and easy. And also I'm going to also be doing something I'm calling the Changemaker sessions every 2 weeks starting in November. So every 2 weeks, I'm going to do an hour Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. And they are going to, I'm going to teach something for 30 minutes around being a change maker, about being more effective and resilient and strategic. And then I'm going to be doing open coaching for 30 minutes. Okay. So I would be happy to have you join us. And yeah, Kirsten just put in the link for just to sign up to get notifications about when the Changemaker sessions are beginning. And our next Lunchtime Live is Thursday, October the 6th. So that's all I needed to tell you. So those of you that need to go, please just drop off when you want to, but I want to honor some of these other questions here. All right. So let me see here. Let me get back into the question document. There was one by Viral as well, Kirsten, I saw go by. All right, so this is a question that was in the document before the hour. So let me read it to you. Okay. So I'm feeling super overwhelmed all the time because there are so many AR events and activities I'm trying to take a part in. I also am putting so much time into animal activism, but I feel like I don't have much to show for it. Any advice? And this person didn't sign their name. Okay, so this is a great question. I think hands up, anybody who feels this way? I feel this way, and I've been doing this for years. Yeah, overwhelm. So overwhelm, I think of as code for 2 things. Sorry, Kirsten, I'll just say, it didn't have the Q ****, but it was a question. So if you can find it, you can put it in there. Okay, so I consider overwhelm code for 2 things. 1, I don't have my priorities straight, or 2, I haven't broken down my work enough. Okay, I haven't broken down my purpose enough. So let's talk about the focus thing. I think there's probably a lot of us here that are trying to help everyone and everything, every being, every issue, every event. And I'll tell you, when you try to help everyone, you end up mostly helping no one. Okay, that's often how it works. Usually because you're too scattered. Okay, so you're not really bringing anything substantive to your work, but also because when you're trying to do everything, you're going to burn out and then you're no good to anybody. Okay, so I'm not saying you're not helping at all, but I'm just saying you are not bringing your most powerful contributions to the movement. And so how does one focus? Well, first of all, you really, I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but it's really important to find what issue you want to focus on. So a couple of questions to ask yourself. What issue am I most compassionate about? Okay, that's one thing to consider. And what issue most needs me? Okay, bring those 2 things together. I'm passionate about a lot of things, but farmed animals, of course, it's everything. It needs the most people, and it's what I'm most passionate about because it's the most suffering and it's the most amount of individuals. So that's my focus, and there's really specific roles I play in that issue. And so to figure out the role that you would best be able to play, here's some questions for you. Okay. What are your talent and skills? I'm actually going to put these questions into the chat so that you can copy and paste it if you want to do this little exercise later. Okay, so after you figure out what your issue focus is, then your role focus, you ask yourself, what are my talents and skills? Okay, if you are a graphic artist and you are, spending all your time giving out brochures or fighting with trolls online, what a waste. We need graphic artists in this movement. Get doing it. Find an organization, volunteer your graphic skills for 5 hours a week. Oh my God, they'll love you for it. What specific knowledge or training do you have? that could really help in the movement. Okay, like again, maybe you have a lot of training or knowledge in CRA, in Canada Revenue Agency, or maybe you have a lot of training in cooking, you know, in chefery. So that might help inform it. What's your background? Do you have valuable experiences or viewpoints to this movement? For example, it's really helpful for me that I come from farm country. It's really helpful for me that I'm from a prairie province, Wheat City, that I'm very familiar with the farming community, that I have farmers in my family. That's a really good viewpoint to be able to bring to it. What are some viewpoints that you have, some experiences that you have that are kind of unique that you could bring to the movement? What are your best qualities that you can bring to the table? You know, like, are you really extroverted and you're really great at talking to people? Are you very detailed oriented and work really well on you know, isolated sort of detailed projects? Like, figure that out, because that will inform where you go. What about me most touches or influences others? Is it your sense of humor? Is it your heart, that you're just so good at holding space? Is it that you're just really courageous and have this fearless, you know, sort of energy about you? And what ways are you just generally awesome? Okay, so those are some really great questions that you can use to really start narrowing down how you can bring, you know, your best contribution to this movement. And you know what, this would be a good post in Animal Justice Academy group. I'm gonna actually post this and see if people want to contribute, and we can work through some of these and see if there's some ideas and directions. So, but here are the questions that I just posed in case you want to take them and work on them. Okay. And I think this is our last question. Let me just get into it here. Okay. Okay. Oh, Tiffany just had a contribution here. Tiffany said, just an idea to also give time for people to only acknowledge themselves and be acknowledged for their wins, whether within themselves or with others. We have to look there, I think, in order to keep our spirits bolstered and encouraged and grateful for our passion, efforts, and gain. Okay, I think this was in response to Viral. Okay, so Viral, he asks, what are some ways for us to deepen our connection to what is beautiful, inspiring, and loving to further our advocacy? Oh, I love this question, Viral. So this is a really important piece of being an enduring and resilient change maker, folks. We need to stay connected to what first inspired us to do what we're doing, okay? And I'll tell you, it wasn't the anger, it was the love. We get angry because we love and care about something enough to get angry, to feel the powerlessness, to feel the injustice of it, okay? That is what first motivates us. Because a lot of people say, oh, I got motivated because I was so angry. No, you got angry because you care, and there's love beneath that. Okay, so you need to keep coming into contact with what the love is. Okay, is it love for justice? Is it love for this little pig that you originally saw? You know, is it love for the planet? What is it? Okay, and keep connecting to that. Keep connecting to your why. And I love the idea of writing a vision of what the world, what the world that you wish for looks like and feels like. I love that exercise. Just taking a few minutes and writing out a vision. This is a world where all animals are free, where none are bred, where people understand that we're all interconnected and there's no hierarchy, whatever it is, okay? And to just be able to write that and feel it, okay? We don't want to do this work from a place of being chased by depression, hopelessness, and anger. That's not a powerful stance to take. We want to do this work from being called by being inspired by seeing the world that can be. Arundhati Roy said, I'm going to get it wrong. Something about the world The world is rising and changing. On a quiet morning, I can hear her breathe. Something like that. I'll figure it out before the end. I really butchered it, but it's this idea of what is the world that's calling to us? Okay, what is the world that we are building, and how do the people in that world feel? That is what we need to connect to on a regular basis. All right, and of course, folks, I know I'm a broken record, but you need to take care of yourself. You are an animal too. And I always think of it in terms, because people are like, oh, I don't have time. My whole world has to be just dedicated to facing the suffering and fighting and all that sort of thing. Well, it's not sustainable. You're not going to be able to do it. You're going to burn out. Or if you don't burn out, you're going to become ineffective because you're just not going to have anything to offer that anybody wants. Okay. People want to emulate people who have vibrancy or have a knowing quality or have a certain peace or joy. That's what people want. And we need to want people to emulate us. Okay. And so you need to be well-rounded. You need to have, a certain light inside of you in order to be truly effective, I believe, and for a long period of time. And so how do you do that? You do that by taking care of yourself. And so I always think about, we don't rescue, we don't free animals from the factory farms. We don't free a pig from a factory farm through an initiative, and then expect that pig to just be constantly fighting and working to free all of the other ones. No, we want them to be able to run around a little bit. We want them to feel the air. We want them to feel the sunshine. We want them to have joy. We want them to have comfort. We want them to have safety. And then if those pigs want to join our cause, then great. But we don't wish what we're wishing on, what we're expecting from ourselves. We don't expect that from other beings. We all need joy. We all need to feel safe. Okay. We all need comfort and we all need rest. Okay. Don't forget that. So that's my last little pitch to you. And please, just bear with me for a second, because I don't want to leave it with hear her breathing. I don't want to leave it butchering Arundathi's. Okay, here it is. Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. All right, you wonderful people. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being willing to come with your questions and your vulnerability. If you're continuing to enjoy this, I will continue to do this every 3 months, and I will try not to miss a month. Yeah, oh, thank you, Tenebrae. I'm glad you've had your day changed. Eleanor, thank you. I'm so glad that you turned up for this. And it's just very heartening for me to see that so many of you are recognizing the importance of doing this work, and how important it is to your power as an animal advocate. So thank you very much, folks. Give yourself a big hug. And by the way, folks, keep in community. That is one of the other big ways. Okay, Lenica, Jenna, find your communities, be in them, a community that understands, so that when you go out into the world that doesn't understand, you have this strength, you take them with you. Okay, that's really important. And even if it's just taking us here with you on the next time you try something, the next time you go out into that world with some animal advocacy. All right, folks, have a good one. Take care.